All right, folks, we are live on the live stream. This is going to be a real fun one. So we're going to be bringing on Rory Groves, who's the author of the book Durable Trades. You probably saw Rory fairly recently if you watched Townsend's, which is a very popular YouTube channel. Rory has a channel and an online presence called The Grovestead. It's a learning farm and a homesteading farm. And Rory comes from a similar background as myself. He's a former software engineer and dove into homesteading and has written this book recently. So if you watch the Townsend's, which you subscribe to Townsend's, it's awesome. They did a video called Trades That Stood the Test of Time, live at the Nutmeg Tavern, and then they had Rory on there. I first saw that video and I really enjoyed it because what Rory did is he did a deep dive analysis of all the various trades that have survived the test of time and could provide for, if you have a family, for example. It's very family oriented, and ones that have lasted for hundreds and hundreds of years. We kind of live in uncertain times right now, and you never know with software engineering, things are always changing and things become obsolete very quickly. And what Rory did is did an analysis of it, and it eventually became a book. And it's this very detailed book that has all these different trades that have lasted the test of time. So we're going to dive into all of those. We're going to talk about what durable is, what the criteria for being included in here. And basically, Rory came up with a top 20 list of durable trades, and there's a total of 60 trades. So there's 40 honorable mentions, 20 that are in the top 10, and we're going to talk about all of those in this particular live stream. So without further ado, let's bring on Rory to the live stream. So there we go. So welcome to the live stream.
Hi, Cliff.
Thank you so much for coming. Yeah, thank you for being here. So again, everyone, I've provided links in the description box. If you go to the description box, we have the links to the book and to the YouTube channel. So again, go to it's thegrovestead.com is the primary website, which has a whole bunch of information over there. And then make sure you especially go and check out the book, Durable Trades. I have a link there. Just go to thegrovestead.com/durable trades. And then there's information there and where you can get the book at. Also, make sure that you follow the Grovestead over on Twitter, and then you can also go to the YouTube channel and subscribe to that channel as well. But the main thing that we're going to be plugging for this one is the book Durable Trades. So link is in the description box, and I'll also include it in the chat room from time to time. So let me do some quick hellos to some people really quick. And so yeah, thanks everyone for joining. We got the Prepping Penguin. It looks like an excited live stream that'll be blast. Yep, this is going to be fun. Cat Rose says, I wonder if this is the same guy the Townsend's had on. Yes, Cat, it is. You are right, it is. That's when I first learned about it. So it looks like there's some bacon is going to be watching it for a little bit later. Prep for it. Let's say hello. And then we also have the Apex Prepper is in the background doing crowd control and everything. So this is going to be a lot of fun. So all right, there's our intro. So I thought maybe we could start off with just a little bit about your background with the Grovestead and how you came about to write this book then.
Yeah, sure. And like I said, I didn't really set out to write a book when I started this project. I'm a background in technology, and I've been a computer programmer for my entire adult career. The term the Grovestead just comes from my last name, and we moved out to a farm about 8 years ago out in southern Minnesota, and we are just kind of interested in trying our hands at homesteading and raising some animals. And at the time we had 2 kids. One was very young, one was about 2 years old, and we were kind of looking for getting out of the city and having more place to play, more room to grow, and to just kind of experiment with some of these things. But it was definitely more of a hobby. But after we were out here for several years, I started to just really notice the dichotomy of working in high tech and then living on the land. And there was a tension there that I just became more and more uncomfortable with, how much everything I created in my profession was going obsolete all the time. And everything I was doing on the land had some more lasting value. And the other thing about it was I was able to involve my family on everything that we were doing on the farm, and I couldn't involve my family in what I was doing in my technology position. And so this kind of undercurrent of discontentment with really wanting to reconcile building something that could be more long lasting, more enduring, at the same time involving my family in what I'm doing. So it's not like daddy goes off to work and then lives a whole separate life at work and then comes home and spends the evenings exhausted with his kids and then the weekends and it's just kind of minimized. I really wanted to figure out, is there something that we can do together? And so I just started to look at historical trades. I wasn't thinking in the term of manual trade so much, but just what's out there. You used to think about, you'd hear these stories of wineries that'd be around for 10 generations, or blacksmiths or shepherds or farmers, and they would go from generation to generation to generation. I mean, hundreds of years, these same careers would endure. And then we live now in a day where I think the average career span, or the average worker, changes careers about every 5 to 7 years. I think someone has 7 careers in their lifetime. And it's just the pace of that is just so rapid, and so much turnover. And so I just was curious at looking back at the history to see if any of those old historical trades are still available for families who want to work together, build something that will last, and still be able to provide an income. Because there's one thing about, you could have a hobby farm, but you're not going to live off of your hobby farm. You've got to actually be able to provide an income. So that was kind of the initial question I was trying to solve. And then it just kind of one thing led to another. And I realized as I started writing this, that this is really interesting. And I think some other families might benefit if I were to put it all together into a book.
Yeah, for me, when I watched on the Townsend show, it really resonated with me as far as your software background, the way that you were thinking, and it aligned with a lot of the stuff that I'm doing, because I work in software engineering as well, where you're working for big corporations and you're commuting, you're at work all day long, and by the time you get home, you're, at least during normal times, you're exhausted, and then you get to see your kids for a little bit, and then go back to sleep and go back to work the next day, and it makes you really. Your question is that where you should be putting all of your energy or not, or should it be more towards home, which ideally it would be towards home. But I think it's awesome how you were able to take that first step into going this route for your family, and to also do things that I like the whole idea of just the term durable. I thought was pretty interesting, because can we talk a little bit about, for the book at least, what it means to be durable? Because I know that there's you have some certain criteria on there. We could talk about not only the 5 criteria items for durable trades, but just what is it durable then to you, sure, according to the book?
So every trade listed in the book has been around since the founding of our country. That was the cutoff. And the reason I chose that, so we're talking 1790, basically, 1789, 1790. And the reason I chose that time period is because from 1790 to roughly 1840 was a period of time in American history known as the Industrial Revolution. And that has been called the most significant event in human history since the domestication of animals, from some historians. In other words, that was one of the greatest upheavals that we've ever gone through, both as a nation and as a people, as a society. And so I figured that if there were trades that existed prior to the Industrial Revolution, and they're still around today, that would, by necessity, make them very durable. It doesn't guarantee that they will be around 200 years from now. And I say that in the book. I'm not making future predictions. I'm just saying what has been the most durable. And in almost every circumstance, there's a total of 61 trades in total. And the first 20 I spotlight and do a much deeper analysis of those trades. But all of them, if they've been around since the founding of our country, they've most likely gone back for thousands of years before that as well. So, I mean, we're talking the very basic, most enduring professions of all time are in this book.
Yeah, all the items and the professions that you put in here really resonated, I thought, with the whole because this is a prepper channel. I focus on urban prepping, which is the high tech, fast paced type stuff. But all the items in here, it was just like, oh, that's prepper stuff. That's prepper stuff. That's prepper stuff. Because we're talking gardening, we're talking about the craftsmanship and all of those type of things. So again, everyone. Again, link is in the description box for this, because if you're a prepper, or if you're into homesteading, or if you want to get into homesteading, it's all in here, and it really breaks it down into multiple criterias that were for each of them. And I love that it reads almost like let me see if I can change my angle really quick, so you can see full screen. There we go. So for me, I could totally tell that you come from a software background, because the way that this book is structured, it looks like a really nice. wiki, Confluence wiki, that has all the facts and figures and percentages, and then you have bar diagrams at the bottom. And it looks, I said offline how it looks like the Transformer scorecard, like at the back where you see Optimus Prime or Ironhide or whoever it is, with a percentage of where it is for based off of the 5 criteria items. So I thought maybe we could talk about those 5 criteria items, or what are the 5 things that you use to rank all of these various durable trades?
Yeah, sure. So when I got the list of what was around in 1790 and what's still around today, I looked at like how I wanted to rank them, because I wanted to not just find out what survived, but what was the most durable. And for me, this was a big reason for writing or for researching, was what is the most family centered, what affords the most opportunity for families who want to work together. And so I created this criteria. I basically created a massive spreadsheet, and I just started drilling down into questions about these trades. For example, how historically durable, or I'm sorry, historical stability. That's the number one. How much has this trade changed over time? Changed tooling, changed to clientele. How has it become so mechanized that it doesn't resemble the original trade anymore, or is it more or less the same as it used to be? Then resiliency was another factor. How does it handle temporary shocks? Like recessions and depressions. Does it bounce back quickly out of those, or does that really put a huge dent in that profession for a time? And look at things of like the geography. Does it require an international, global supply chain, or can it be sourced? The materials to perform that trade can be sourced locally. And same thing goes with the clientele. Do you need a national or international audience to support what you're doing, or can one town provide subsistence for you for your profession? And then it moves on. The third criteria is family centeredness. This is what I've talked about already. Is there opportunities for children to work in the trade, for elderly people to work in the trade? Does it complement men and women and give them both options to work inside the trade? Is it offer an opportunity to work from home? Obviously, everyone used to be a home-based business. I mean, unless you worked in the government, for most of human history, people were farmers. They worked on their lands. They had very small artisanal shops that were also their homes. And so that was the third criteria. And there's underneath each of these, there's a lot more details that I won't go into here, but it's in the book if you want to look it up. Fourth one was income. So interestingly, income is just 1/5 of the total score. Makes up 20% of the total score. Most professional type career guides are going to highlight how much money you can make from a given trade. But to me, I wasn't interested in that. I wanted to know what was going to be around after a while. And if we're going to, spend 20 years of the rest of my life, building this family-centered economy, I didn't want it to just go away, with the next robotic automation. So income I need to be able to make a living, but it wasn't the number one goal for me. And then finally, the last thing is barriers to entry or ease of entry. What kind of regulations are required to start this profession? How much startup capital does it need? How high of education and things like that.
Yeah, I really like the thing that really resonated with me is the importance of the family part of it. Again, for me, I guess the top ones would be family centeredness of it, and then the income is important. But I think in today's society, we're so just focused on making the most money that we can and as quickly as we can. And and I think with good intentions for myself, for example, I want to be able to provide to my kids and family and have them go to the good school and have good Christmases and whatever good presents. But at the end of the day, when I look back at my childhood, the things that with my dad, that I wish that I wish I got better toys or better vacations. It's I wish I played catch a little bit more. I wish we went on did family, and that's the things that my son now, it's when I come home, when I'm done with work, or even now when I'm taking a lunch break, it's not, Dad, go get me something, or with all this, with the money that you're getting, it's, hey, let's play catch. Hey, let's do something outside. And those kind of things. And so that really hit home with me. And it really was something that I was like, man, I gotta talk to Rory because he knows what to do. But before diving in a little bit more of the book, Can you talk about that first step? Because when I look at the website, it says that it was established in 2012. Is that when you kind of made the switch from going full-time software engineer to more of the homestead lifestyle then? So it's been about 8 years or so? Or?
That's when we moved out to this farm.
Yeah.
And I guess you could say that's when we started. The transition is ongoing, and part of writing this book was to figure out, what are we going to do here? What are we going to do that's going to involve our family and that's going to last? And so that is an ongoing thing. And we've obviously been working on a number of different projects. We raise livestock here, so we grass-fed lamb, and we sell pastured poultry. We raise hogs and rabbits and, I don't know, goats. My wife milks goats in the spring, and then she makes goat milk soap. Yeah, there's some of that stuff there. We tap our maple trees, and it kind of transitioned, I'd say, over the last 2 to 3 years into actually trying to make a livelihood out of it.
Yeah.
Up until that time, we were mostly just trying to learn some new skills. And by the way, I mean, we are not experts at this by any stretch. We just are enjoying the process of learning about some of these traditional skills, which, as you highlighted, there's a lot of overlap with prepping in this, but that's because prepping is concerned with really durable skills and having basic skills that you can rely on in uncertain times. But that's how all of our ancestors always lived.
Yeah, and another part of the book where there's heavy focus on the Industrial Revolution then, as far as that being a kind of a pivotal point where it was, trying to get things out there cheaply and swiftly as possible. And it seems like we're at a time now in today's society where things are going towards automation and towards artificial intelligence and all those kind of things. So it seems like all the stuff that's in this particular book, again, link in the description, everyone, it resonates really hard, at least for me, because it feels like it's almost like a secondary industrial revolution, maybe an AI revolution, I guess.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, yeah, I guess you could call it that, AI revolution. There's several studies that I cite in the book. They're looking at in complete upheaval in the workforce over the next decade. One study expects there to be 800 million jobs lost or turned over in the next decade, including up to a third of the American workforce. And I think, and I go into some of that, a lot of people have said, well, or might think, you're crying wolf. People have always complained about invention, and upheaval and things like that. But there really is something different about this coming robotic and artificial intelligence revolution, in that it's really impacting another level of society that heretofore was not the mainstay of society. So when the machines came in the Industrial Revolution and pushed the artisans out of their shops, this was not the great majority of society. Now we're looking at robots taking over the jobs of the great majority of society. And so there's going to be a lot of self-reflection that needs to happen in terms of, what am I doing? Just because I'm working a white collar job doesn't mean that I'm not susceptible for that job to be taken over, because now software is taking over the jobs of lawyers even. And so there's a lot of things that are going to be happening very soon. And it's worth considering that just because a job is high paid, or just because a job is in an office or deals with computers, does not necessarily mean that you won't be affected by this revolution.
Yeah, and we talked yesterday briefly about this, but as far as the job that I'm in, any kind of software engineering job, I mean, how much longer is it going to take before AI could write the programs for you? So, and the part of the job that I think that's allowed me to keep my jobs, or at least get the jobs that I've had in my career, has been more of the interpersonal communication type things, which it's not fun to talk to robots. We have anyone that's called a phone line that has automated service. They're not as fun as what we're doing here, talking and saying some uhs and ums, but having an interpersonal dialogue with each other. So
there's a guy I interview in the book for the chapter on painters.
Yeah.
Painters, I think it's number 7 or something.
Yep.
And he used to be a director level for a corporation, and he actually quit his job to become a professional exterior custom painter. He had some experience of that prior to when he was growing up, and he decided that after he had had enough of the keyboards and the office life, he wanted to be with his family and he wanted to have more control over his destiny. And so he went into business as a professional painter. And not only does he make more money than he used to in his director level job, but he's at home more. His wife has joined him in the business. He's looking forward to training his kids up into the business. And one of the things that he told me when I was interviewing him is that his brother works for a government contractor on advanced weapons systems. And his brother was relaying to him, he's genuinely concerned about AI taking over his job someday. And he was saying, I kind of envy you in your position because I don't see robots taking over custom exterior painting anytime soon.
Yeah.
So that's just a very clear example of those really, really high-tech, super advanced professions are not necessarily going to be as durable. And we saw that. I'll also mention this. With the rise of the Industrial Revolution, so we had, say, around 70 distinct professions by 1800. And over the course, today we have roughly 30,000. So you're seeing an extreme explosion of new professions over the last 200 years. But almost all of those professions that were spawned from the Industrial Revolution were also destroyed by the Industrial Revolution. And it's so interesting to see that some of these professions that are still around, many of them were destroyed as well, but the ones that are still around were the ones that were around before the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah. And I was just taking some of the ordering of them. I was a little surprised at because like midwifery was a little higher than what I thought it was going to be in the book. But yeah, the painter was number 7. It looks like historical stability, 88%, resiliency, 71%, family centeredness, 56%, income, 80%, and ease of entry was 94%. How did you come up with the exact numbers for each one of those type of criteria then?
For each of the 5 criteria, there are basically subcomponents of each of those criteria, and I just objectified all of the information. So I had certain questions that I was asking. For example, under ease of entry, startup capital is a huge component of that. How much does some profession like opening a mine, is that you're going to have $5 million of capital, or becoming a banker? Some of those things are out of reach for most, but not everyone. So if something required an incredible amount of capital to start up, it got a lower score in that category. And so in the very back of the book, in the appendix, I break it all out in terms of how the categories are determined and there's the listing of the percentage for every category. And then I think after that page, there is a actual breakdown of the criteria, or is that? Yeah, there's the criteria where I have weighted averages for each of the things.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome. I wanted to get I want to start bringing in a lot of the folks from the chat room. A lot of people are saying hi, talking to friends. And so, and I knew that this particular comment was going to come up. And this is from the GD Bacon. I'm wondering if the oldest profession. No, the oldest profession is not there. It didn't meet the family-friendly criteria.
Family-friendly did not make
family-friendly. It did not make it. So sorry about that. But I knew that was going to come up.
As soon as it's not the first. Believe me, it's not the first.
Yeah. Here's thank you for the super chat on this one. This is from again. How much does the human touch factor into trades? This human touch. So.
Yeah, is that in terms of relational, or would that be in relation to hands-on? I mean, all of this is hands-on. I mean, all of it. There was no machine automation prior to, I guess you could say the moldboard plow for farming. But I mean, aside from small farming implements, all of it was hands-on.
So I'm just going to go rapid fire through some of the chat.
Go for it.
Catch up on it really quick. Some of them are comments. Some of them are specific questions. Let's see. Some of the jobs could be side gigs.
Yes, definitely. In fact, let me talk to that really quick. On the side gigs, one of the key in the 3rd chapter of the book, I go over the factors to success. So all the people that I interviewed and researched, what determines with a particular business in that trade is successful. You can have a number of businesses. Some can be successful, some cannot be. And one of the key criteria that I saw was practicing multiple overlapping trades. And so we have a lot of examples throughout history where people would be, well, the obvious one is farmers and shepherds. They're both taking care of animals and they're planting crops. But there's also things like woodworkers are also carpenters. We had Benjamin Franklin, who was a publisher and an author and a statesman. George Washington was a statesman, of course. He was also a soldier. And he was an arborist. He kept an orchard. So there's a number of different ways in which, if you can practice trades that overlap, they could be side gigs. In fact, that's how we're starting. I don't have a full-time farm-based business, but that's where I hope to go with this.
Yeah.
I'm still doing technology consulting part-time to help get me to a future position where I can hopefully be fully off the farm.
Awesome. Very cool. There's some more just random comments here. This is from Tony. Learn skills, use them or lose them. We got agreed, get a trade. This is from the Apex Prepper question. What is your favorite family durable trade and how different is it from your favorite durable trade? That's
I think they're one and the same, which is shepherd.
Yeah.
No, it's the one that landed on the top because it's the one that has the most sustainability over time. You're providing food, and you're also the entry to that is fairly low if you have somewhere to farm, and you actually don't need that much space for our animals.
Yeah.
You can involve children from the youngest of ages. My 8-year-old collects the eggs from the chickens. My 10-year-old does all the animal chores with our sheep and our goats every morning and every evening. I do the hay baling with the tractor, but he helps me load the bales. My wife is involved with all of this stuff too. She's milking the goats. So there's so many things with animals that are the most family friendly, but also farming itself is farming and shepherding were the most family friendly trades.
Two, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like how you have them organized as far as the title of it, shepherd, but that includes rancher, livestock farmer.
Yeah. So when I say shepherd, I just mean animal husbandry. I just picked like the term the historical term that it would have been called, basically in 1800.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a really cool. I liked, I just like it. I loved how you had that for that. So let's see. Someone's talking about breeding dogs would be a good family side.
Excellent. Very good idea too. Yeah. Any kind of animal, purebred animal breeding right now is a good line to get into.
Yeah, well, we have purebred Italian greyhounds, and they're AKC, and one of ours is a big show dog, and
nice.
we're like to breed her. She's getting matched up with her boyfriend right now, but let's see. This is another one. Let's see. We can't allow our jobs to be taken away. It'll be man versus machine. That's definitely Terminator. The movie. Let's see. Rory, this is from Amy Fresh. Rory, in your research, was there a specific trade that you started to gravitate towards that you hadn't previously considered?
Great question.
Amy always has great questions. So.
Yeah, good question, Amy. Yes, I discovered this trade called tutor. This has been around for many, many, many years. And basically a tutor is someone who provides private education for another. And this can also take the form of a classroom setting. So if you've ever taken a class somewhere to learn a skill, a specialized skill, whether it's a woodworking class or blacksmithing class, that would fall under the category of informal education. And that was one that came up and actually ranked in the top 20. And that was of great interest to us because one of the things we like doing on this farm is sharing what we're learning. And we've invited people out to learn about beekeeping and tapping maple trees. Actually, we're going to have a crew out here in a couple of weeks, and we're going to go over maple syruping with them. And so we love that because for us, that's when we say we're a learning farm. That's what we love to do. We love to learn new things, to learn old skills, traditional skills, and to pass on what we're learning. So that was one that came out from this research.
Yeah, that one was pretty cool to see too. I saw the historical stability, 88%, resiliency, 75%, family centeredness, 55%. Income 80% and ease of entry 76% for tutor. And that was number 7 in there. So that was tutor's older.
Oh,
sorry, 11. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a little further out.
We just talked and said number 7.
Yeah,
so.
Painter was.
Okay. Yes, yeah, that was Painter. Sorry. Okay. We talked beforehand. I'm like, hey, are we allowed to give spoilers on this one? So, and you said it was okay within reason. So, we want guys, if you're just tuning in now, or if you're watching the rerun of this live stream, make sure you pick up Durable Trades. It's an awesome book for if you're even interested in any kind of long-term learning a trade versus, or maybe you're about to go into school and you don't know what you want to do it, or if you have kids that's 10 years from now they're going to school. This book is so valuable, and the research that Rory did and the analysis from a real scientific strategy is really awesome. And you could use it almost like as a reference guide, or you could just do page to page read through of it, and you're going to get something out of it. If you're into prepping and wanted to get into homesteading, it's also a really good book. So again, link is in the description. I'll post it again in the chat room really quick right now. You could get it from Amazon, and there's multiple sites. If you go to the website though to look for the book from what you're talking with Rory, there's a few different sites that you can get it from, and he'll let you know if there's any kind of discounts going on at the time. So there's
there's a free sample chapter you can download on the website.
There we go.
If you want to give me your email, we'll send you out the first chapter from the book and kind of give you a flavor of what it's like, and kind of a little bit more in depth than what we've been talking about here.
Yeah, cool. So let's see. Let's go over here. Let's get I'm going to do a couple rapid fire ones just to catch up on the chat room really quick. So let's see. We got fast food and minimum interests are going to be robotic industry. That's what we're worried about. I've watched this video that you mentioned here. I'll uploadify the Watch Humans Need Not Apply. Yeah, that's a great YouTube channel. Everyone should subscribe to him. Let's see. Agreed. Trade jobs can't be automated nearly as much as a paper pusher. This is from Tony. 35 years of carpenter. Good luck roboting.
Yeah, right on, Tony. Yeah. The guy I interviewed for the book is a 5th generation carpenter, and I mean, there are things that you can't teach in a classroom. You have to be mentored and apprenticed into it.
Yeah, it's amazing. We just bought our home. We were renters for a long time, and we bought it in 2017. And my dad didn't know any of this kind of stuff, and I'm just now trying to learn these kind of trades, fixing the sink or the plumbing. And my wife wishes I was a lot better at these kind of things. But it's really cool to see someone that knows a trade like that. Carpenters or mace people that do concrete cutting or whatever. There's all sorts of drywallers. The drywalling was one of those ones where we got the house and we needed to do some drywall work. I'm like, oh, that's easy. I could do that. Let me watch a YouTube video, and it's just a bunch of mud, but it's like a certain skill, and it was tough, and I screwed it up, and I'm like, I got to call a professional, and I don't see how some Terminator robot's going to do drywalling anytime soon. So
and I think to the point about specialized white collar jobs, part of the reason why you get robots involved in the first place is to save money, right? I mean, it's really, and the R&D to create a robot to take over a profession is incredible, and there's got to be a huge payoff before they're going to put in the R&D to create that robot. So unless it's something that's really low-hanging fruit in some kind of repetitive trade, and most of those have already been, the easy ones have already been automated. They're going to go after the high-paying jobs, because that's the ones that you are going to save the most money if you get a robot to replace, or software. It doesn't even have to be a physical robot. It can be software.
Yeah, and that's what we do in software engineering and all the jobs that I've had, is that if we're doing some kind of manual test that goes over and over again, okay, we want to, and if it's automatable, we're going to automate it. So we could do focus our attention on other things. So it seems the same thing with jobs. So, it looks like Bacon kind of clarified. To clarify the question, professions such as waiters, bartenders, barbers, etc., humans will still want the human element, I believe. Okay.
Well, a huge emphasis in the book is looking at what happened with the Industrial Revolution, in the sense that it pursues efficiency over human relationships. And when you started to break down, or one of the effects of embracing that pursuit of efficiency is that we started to see these breakdowns in families, breakdowns in communities, breakdowns in just the way that we even govern, politically. So what historically you would see with these trades is you'd see not only the skill sets itself being passed down from one generation to the next, but the relationships around those trades. Let me give you an example. There is the carpenter that I interviewed with the book. I work with him for off and on, for the last couple of years, and that's simply because I want to learn more. And we were on a job site and remodeling a house one day, and an electrician came by to do the wiring that he had hired to bring him in. And I asked him, I said, how long have you guys been working together? And it turned out that actually this electrician's dad was also an electrician who worked with Nate. Nate's the carpenter. He worked with Nate's dad. So literally, this had been a 2-generation vendor relationship. And I just asked him, how does he decide whether he's going to work with one vendor or the next? And he just works with one guy. He pays him what he asks. He trusts him. I mean, there's a relationship that's built there on trust that you can't replace that easily. And so, I mean, it all comes down to human relationships. And I think that that's a really important factor. And what I'm trying to get across in the book is this is something that we need to take very seriously, is how important is saving a buck or making a process more efficient over keeping that human relationship intact. We're burning through the social capital, as John Eichert puts it. We've been burning through the social capital for centuries, and there's really no incentive to put it back in the system unless we individually choose to embrace things that are positive, net positive to building up human relationships and our communities.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know we talked about this before going live, but as far as we were talking about the job that I have, it's not it's not something that my family's involved in at all. It's a lot of the jobs today. It feels like we're a bunch of individuals doing our thing, our career path, but working in engineering, it's not like I'm bringing up my son in the career of engineering or my daughter or my wife's involvement, but they're much more involved in my YouTube channel than with my day job. And you kind of mentioned that we talked a little bit about the whole idea of being individuals kind of taken away from the whole family aspect of a career and passing down something from one generation to the next, which is why this book is so resonated so much with me, because I want to strive to be more like this, what I should be according to this. So.
There's the guy that I interviewed for Sawyer. So that's a surprising one, and it made the top 20, but there's a huge burgeoning industry of portable sawmills right now. And you can buy a wood miser for, I don't know, $5,000 on the very low end to a lot more than that. And you can tow a lumber mill to the site and cut lumber at a pretty lucrative price for people who are interested in having their own lumber milled for building or for furniture for whatever reason. So there's a whole industry there. And this guy that is a sawyer I talked to, he was a computer programmer like myself. So we had in like you, Cliff, and we had a parallel experience there. And he said he got his start in sawmilling when he was building his own cabin up in Wisconsin. And he was tearing apart an old one-room schoolhouse and was going to be replacing the paneling. When he took off one of the boards, he saw scribbled in on the wall was the signature of the man who built the first building. And it was dated some 100 years ago. And he thought to himself at that moment, when I write a piece of code, that's him. John
Kalitzky.
John Kalitzky. Yeah, that's him.
Computer programmer and CTO of high-tech startup.
Yep. He's got a great write-up. Oh, so, and really quick, let me interject that the top 20 of the trades all have a profile to go along with them. So you can kind of get an idea of what a day in the life would be like.
Yeah.
So this guy, he said, when I write some code, it's already obsolete by the time it hits the hard drive. This guy has been building this cabin and it's 100 years old and it's still standing today. And in all likelihood, it'll be standing long after I'm dead. And that kind of awakening really struck him. And like, what am I doing? What am I putting my life into in terms of things that can just go obsolete so quickly? And so anyway, that's an interesting
yeah, totally.
confirmation of that.
It's very frustrating from software, working in software, just how quickly the stuff that you're working on becomes stale or obsolete within sometimes a matter of months to some document that I worked on or a program. I'm going to try to catch up a little bit on the chat room. So again, if you're just tuning in now to the live stream, we're talking to Rory Groves, and author of the book Durable Trades. There are links in the description box. Go over and check it out. If you have buyer's doubt if you haven't been sold yet on it, just go over here and you could read a sample chapter, put your name, email, and you get that. Otherwise, just go and buy it. Trust me on this one. If you want a recommendation, it has a Urban Prepper recommended, and just go and pick it up for wherever it is. You could get some family coupon codes, and there's additional information here. So there's multiple places that you could buy it. Again, we're talking with Rory Groves about the book Durable Trades, which are jobs that can survive the test of time. So, so if you're just tuning in now, welcome to the live stream. If you're watching this in the year 2025, hopefully the robots haven't replaced the YouTube channel. So, okay. Yeah, hopefully the robots are good at entertaining. So let's I'm gonna do a couple rapid fire just to make sure I get caught up. Being an electrician has afforded me the opportunity to start a homestead. That's awesome.
All right.
Let's see, this is coastal four, one of maritime trades careers, tend to be Midwest farmer centers. Yeah. Let's see, do your goats and sheep live together?
I actually they live right next to each other. They're in separate pens but in the same barn.
Okay. That's okay. So, Cat Rose, my last job, I learned from doing it. Yeah, I got my job. The stuff that I'm doing on my job is nothing that I learned at school. I learned through the School of Hard Knocks and sucking at things for a while.
I saw a previous question about maritime.
Yeah.
Yes, there are. I mean, there are fisherman is in there. Shipwright is in there. There are a number of, if it was around in 1800 and it's still around today, it's in the book.
Yeah. Let's see. This is great. Man, there's so many good questions. I want to make sure I get the really, really good ones. And Amy always has good questions. So, Amy, another good question. Do you have advice for the teen generation that has grown up in a society that glamorizes tech and material things that may not see the value in trades? That's from commenter superstar Amy Fresh.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my advice would be to get them exposed to tangible, hands-on activities, get them away from the video game consoles, get them into a wood shop and teach them some woodworking skills. And just as much exposure. I mean, you can't persuade anyone to do something that they're not going to want to do, but I'd say if you can get them exposed to working with animals or to farming or to building something. I mean, my son is 10. I can't keep him away from the workshop. All he wants to do is go out and build. And he's cutting down saplings and building shanties in the woods. And it's just all the kid wants to do. It's so much more enticing than anything that would be on television or a video game. And so I would just say, as a parent, just as much exposure as possible to as broad a spectrum of things. Gardening, getting them all of these different experiences as a contrast, as an option for them before they decide which direction they want to go.
Awesome. So, cool. Sorry, I was looking at a couple things coming in there too. So let's see. This is what's kind of similar to it, but what could be done to help the next generation into considering an apprenticeship rather than following the college debt route? That was one of the ones that I wanted to ask that question. So, because I have a son that he's 10 years old, he's going to be 11. He'll be going to college at some point, or should he go more towards apprenticeship or go to a trade? What do you think about this as far as the next generation? Considering, I also don't want my son to get in six figures debt.
Yeah. Completely. I mean, I completely agree. A lot of us have been sold a bill of lies for a long time that all you need to do is get good grades in school, find a good college, get a degree, and then everything will work out for you. You'll have a great job. You'll have all this income. You have all this money automatically. Like it's some kind of just conveyor belt or factory that you can expect, put these inputs in and expect these outputs out. But we all know that doesn't really work out that way. And I can't tell you the number of people that have sat in our living room and said, we wish so bad that we could move out to the country and buy a farm and do these things, but we can't because we're saddled with college debt and they're working jobs and they're barely able to make ends meet. And it's really tragic. They said, I wish someone would have told us. I've had that exact conversation with multiple families. And they said, I wish someone would have told us there was another way. There's another option. And so, that person to tell them is the parents, and parents need to be responsible to tell them that college isn't the only option. It is an option. And depending on what you want to do with your life, it might be the correct option, but it's not the only option. There's a lot of other things out there. And I think, and I talk about this in the book too, there's this kind of stigma around the trades, like they're for people who are uneducated or ignorant or low paying, and a lot of that stuff is just total hogwash. Some of the most successful, and I would say well off people that I know are working in the trades and they're making a lot of money. And by the way, right now, anyone working in the construction industry has a year's worth of work lined up. I mean, not necessarily that much, but they are highly in demand, making more money than I ever did as a computer programmer. So there's a lot of myths out there around the trades. And again, I would say it's really up to the parents. I don't know as a generation what you can do if the parents aren't going to be training their kids in the way that they should go. So that needs to start with the parents that really understand this. And then and like I was saying before, getting them exposed at a young age. Labor laws in this country prevent anyone from working until the age of 14, unless it's in a family business. And so I think it's really a great way if you can start something on the side, even if it's just not really making a huge amount of income, but it's just going through the process of starting a business, creating, growing some strawberries, selling it at a roadside stand, getting some experience and some exposure with those kids early. Don't wait till they're 14, 15, 16 years old to start teaching them about work. Start them when they're 8. Historically, families depended on their children, and their children could work. They were able to do these kinds of things. You don't have to wait until you're done with college before you start to work.
Yeah, I think my grandparents, when they were kids, their parents, they had many kids because they would work on whatever the family business is, whether there's making shoes or on the farm or whatever. So, and we've definitely gotten away from that as society. So, I'm going to try to catch up on the chat room really quick. So again, thank you everyone for this. That's so active in the chat. There's a lot of great questions. If I miss any of them and you really want to have it answered, if you could leave a comment at the end of this live stream, I'll try to, I don't know if I can answer it, but I'll do my best. I'll reference the book. Please turn to page 47, paragraph 3. Otherwise, maybe Rory might be able to answer it. But there was one, you had a funny photo on
Nice.
on the book as far as the butchery where you were processing a cow. It looked like, was that the first time that you did that, or was that?
Yeah, I work part-time as a butcher for the local meat locker in the town next to us, where we take our sheep and goats and hogs, and partially for research for the book, and also for I didn't know the first thing about butchering, and we raise animals, and I wanted to learn more about what goes into all of that. So I got a firsthand experience and learned quite a lot. And I'm not anywhere near proficient on my own to do it, but I have a good handle on the whole process now.
Yeah, I want to see if I can find that photo.
There it is. It's the top posts. Actually, yeah, go to the scroll to the very bottom, and then it's the top number one post on the website.
That was a really cool photo. You're like, there
that's me. They had me cleaning hanging sides of beef. That was pretty much what I did for the slaughter days. And then on a different day that I came in, we would butcher chickens, where they had the room reconfigured for chickens, and we would process somewhere around 800 to 1,000 chickens in one day. It was quite the experience.
Sorry for any vegans.
And that was a small, by the way, that was a small shop. I mean, they're a small local. They're not even a federal, an equal to butcher shop. So they're just a small time.
Awesome. So let me see. It's hard to read all the chats and get all the right screens going. We're doing our best, though. I think we're doing pretty good.
Butcher is one of the top. I think it's number 16. So it made the top 20.
Okay, let's see. They're talking about my dad could fix anything and taught me a lot of different. And that was one thing. My dad couldn't fix anything and didn't teach me. So I'm all I had the exact opposite. Just order your book, Rory. Looking forward to reading it.
Thank you,
everyone. Make sure buy the book. Just do it. I have a link in the description box for it. Just get it. Is there any chance of an audiobook coming out of it, or audio version, like a Audible?
There's nothing in the works at the moment, but it's something that we have been getting some requests for. So
I always like when I'm driving. I always like listening to.
Yes,
that's my thing. Let's see. Just some of these look like general comments. So let me get back to our split screen. Here we go.
Nice, Joe.
Custom shelves. That's awesome. I wish I could do that too. Let's see. I used to be passionate about computer programming back when Rory and I started a tech company. So that must be a friend.
An old pal of mine, and he keeps me honest.
Good.
Yeah.
So cool. So let's see. Being a mechanic and someone that has worked a variety of construction is giving me out of the box thinking skills, which many
the creativity required to being a business owner. This would be the case in everything. I mean, I bet that you would say this is true, Cliff, with your YouTube channel. it takes a tremendous amount of mental energy to figure things out, to relate and to build an audience, to do your own marketing, your own customer relationships, your own service. Those are skills that you don't get them when you're just getting delivered out of college into a very specialized skill set type of a job. They just don't come with that. And so again, if you can train your kids and get them involved in some kind of family business, it's an excellent breeding training program for later in life, however they want to use those skills. They'll be very creative thinkers and problem solvers.
Yeah, it's pretty disappointing as far as kind of the education system, at least in the U.S. is. I didn't take classes on how to run out. Here's how you run a business. Here's how you balance your checkbook. Here's how you do taxes. Here's how where you should invest. Here's for every, like having a YouTube channel. It's not just about being on the camera. It's understanding the business skills and the advertising, the color schemes, and the marketing, and all contacts and all. And I don't feel like they teach that well enough. At least they didn't teach me.
I started an MBA program. I didn't finish it, but for business school. And even that is just so highly specialized to one specific type of corporation, middle and large size corporations who were sending most of their employees through those programs. So even there, I wasn't getting a well-rounded business education.
Yeah, there's a lot of people saying turn the power off in the house. So which I think that's good. This finding a profession that you love is important. I find that I like doing stuff outside. It's more it's relaxing. Maybe it's being just in front of a computer screen all day. Again, if you guys are just tuning in now, you're a little bit late on the live stream, but if you're watching the rerun, we're talking with Rory Groves, and we're talking about the book Durable Trades, which is awesome. You need to buy it. But let's take a couple minutes or a couple seconds if you need to. I'll stop for a little bit and look at some of the chat. Let's see. The happiest people that I know and the best relationship I have are in trade. Being in a trade, we all work together and do really well compared to my friends that went to college and still don't work for what their major was and paying it off. I know so many people that their job is not what their major was.
I think that's probably the norm.
Yeah. How often do you think people move from a job to their side gigs? That's Prepper Book Club. I don't know.
I mean, I've always, as long as I've been employed, I've always had some kind of side gig going because I've always tried to be exploring another option out there. And I think that's good. I think if you have the time for it and you have the energy for it, it's always a good idea. I don't know how many people make it completely, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not worth doing.
Yeah, I still haven't made my YouTube channel my full-time gig. It's my side gig still, but TUP always has higher level information discussions. Oh, thank you. Thanks. Sign language could also have multiple applications, and you have an interpreter.
Interpreters in the book, yeah. I think we actually mentioned sign language in there.
Joseph White, this is a friend. I've read the book and have been recommending it to young people considering the expense of college. Yeah. Oh man, the chats are coming in, and I'm missing so many of them. So I'm sorry, folks. I'm trying my best here.
I don't want to, because I know we're coming up on time pretty soon. I don't want to miss out on this one thing, since this is a prepper channel. I want to make sure that relate it to you. That one of the things when you asked me to come on the program, I was kind of thinking like how to explain the connection here to prepping, and I think
there we go.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that always kind of strikes me as odd is that prepping is painted as some kind of, doomsday, crazy, lunatic fringe. And when you get this book and you look at how people used to live, and we were talking about this before, prior to 1800, every farm, every family was a self-sufficient enterprise. I mean, they could do pretty much everything that they needed to do right on their own farm, and they would be described as preppers by modern standards. But that was just the normal way of life for all of human history. That's the thing that kind of floors me about all this talk and this over-reliance on the industrial system. Prior to the Industrial Revolution, this was normal. People storing up a year's worth of food was normal. And having these skills and these self-reliance and the ability to live off the land was completely normal. And it was the way of things for the last 6,000 years. So that's one of the things, and I do try to key in on that because I spend some time in the book talking about what I call brittle systems, that the way we live today is very unusual. It's really never been like this in human history. And there's a lot of reason to be concerned. And therefore, my answer to that is durable trades. In other words, looking for more of a lifestyle that will allow you to be more prepared for whatever the shocks and whatever the systems have been. Because in the last 200 years, we've had things like pandemics, and we've had depression and recession. We've had hyperinflation. We've had no power grid. I mean, we've had all these different types of calamities that have come through, and wars and revolutions. We've had all these, and these are the trades that have endured all of that.
Yeah, you have a really cool section in there that has this breakdown of household expenditures from 1901 versus household expenditures from, let me change this view really quick. There we go. From 2015. And from 1901, it was mainly food, 44%, and then clothing, 14%, shelter, 23%. Other was 19%. And now, present time, the other is 50% of what our expenditures are. And then shelter is the main one because the home prices are more expensive. And so that's a really interesting, that's on page 48 of anyone that's referencing. It's on that one. I thought that was super fascinating.
Yeah, something like 80% of our income was spent on food, fiber, or shelter up until 1901. Just to kind of give you an idea of where money was spent. And the discretionary income that we have today is an artifact of, well, for one thing, being a highly specialized culture and a very opulent culture. But a lot of that is supported by what I consider to be unsustainable supports.
Yeah. I'm gonna do another round of rapid fire chat room messages because I know we're coming up to about an hour, and I'd rather have people wanting more than wanting less. Because I could talk. You and we talked for a while yesterday too, so I think we could talk about this for a long time. But again, everyone if you're just tuning in now, we're a little bit late on the live stream, but hopefully you could rewatch the rerun of it. And we're talking with Rory Groves on the book Durable Trades. We're going to do some rapid fire chat room talks. So this is from Eric. Curious about religious trades, having just finished an elder board meeting with my pastor from church, and then you do have a
minister is in there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, minister made the list. Let's see if this is someone just saying fascinating book. It is a very fascinating book. Let's see, we got Alaska Prepper. Welcome, Alaska Prepper, to the live stream. Alaska Prepper has an awesome live stream. Tune in on Sundays at noon, I believe, and Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Those are Pacific Standard Time. Alaska Prepper is awesome, and he's one of my go-to. He and Denise for meat canning. So okay. Amy Fresh always has great comments. So many people have forgotten the benefits of lifestyles our grandparents and great-grandparents used to live. Very, very true. My nephew went into, for some of these aren't questions necessarily, but just comments. He thought parents could pay. Now he's early 30s, working out during the Great Depression. That's from Bernie. I think we're gonna have to bring on Bernie too.
Yeah, a lot of people. I mean, we have people in our own family that they didn't know they were in a depression because they lived on the family farm and they produced everything they needed. That's really the ultimate self-sufficiency right there.
Yeah, there's my grandma was, and she used to tell all sorts of stories of living through the Depression. Actually, coming up on this live stream, I'm going to be. I did a video on Great Depression cooking featuring Clara. That's a real popular channel. She started her YouTube channel when she was 91. Her grandson filmed it and put it together, and she passed away back in 2013. But had all these Great Depression recipes. And coming up in March, I have the grandson coming on the live stream to talk about some of those kind of Great Depression cooking and stories from the grandma and the stuff that he's working on now. He's doing big time directors and video type stuff, which is pretty sweet. Let's see. This is from Big Mama. Just bought the book and had it delivered to my son in college. Awesome, Big Mama. Everyone send it to your kids at college. Have you guys talked about masonry yet? I joined late. So welcome, Andy. We haven't talked about it, but it did make the list.
It's in the top 20.
It's in the top 20. What made you decide to share your knowledge of your book?
It was just, I spent the better part of a year writing this. And I realized as I was getting into this that it was, first of all, it was a ton of work. It was hundreds of hours of research, and that there would be other families that would probably benefit from it. And then over the course of writing it, you're talking to people about what you're doing. And I got a lot of people that were in a similar situation that were very intrigued by the topic. And so I thought, well, maybe this will make a book.
Well, we're all glad that you did decide to do it. So I had one final question for me there, and then I'm going to bring on Bernie on really quick to make sure see anything that I missed. But I had, what are your, looking back at it now, if you had to start over from scratch, or if you're about to go, knowing what you know now from the research that you've done that's been included in this book, if you could do it over again, would you go down the same route of the software engineering and then move towards the homestead, or would you go to a particular trade that you have listed in here?
I think I would be an advocate of trying to get as broad of an experience base as possible. I'd want to learn the basics of how to grow your own food, how to live off the land, how to work some basic construction skills. I would want to know what my great-grandparents knew and practiced. And starting from that base, then maybe I would look into what's available to me, what suits me, what am I interested in the modern selection of jobs that are out there. Knowing what I know now after having worked in high tech for most of my career and kind of experienced from that direction, right now I'm going as hard as I can into the self-sufficiency types of skills and skill sets, and learning about what's going to be durable is a lot more important to me than what is going to be lucrative.
Awesome. Let's see, is nursing in the book? I know you.
Well, physician is in the book. I don't think, and then midwife is in the book.
Yeah, midwifery was number 3. It was one of the higher paying ones, harder to get into. I think it was 3, but
yeah, it's a number 3.
So,
nursing, I think that nursing itself as a distinct profession isn't in the book. That's the only one I'm stumped on.
Okay.
No, the rest of them pretty well.
Yeah, you got to. So, this is part 2 book. We love a book about your homesteading experiences. Is there going to be a part 2 book coming out?
Come to the website, thegrovestead.com, and then we do a quarterly newsletter that's all about homesteading. It's actually specifically homesteading and faith and family are the topics that we cover. So go under publications, Cliff, and then the second one down.
Okay, so
if you want to follow some of the information about our newsletter, you can sign up for that. It's free. We just ask for a donation if people want to donate, and then we mail this out 4 times a year, and we just update you on what we're learning about homesteading.
Oh, man, look at that newsletter too. That's super pro.
Yeah, and that's also part of our family collaborates on that. So my wife writes some articles, my kids write some articles. We try to have there be a little bit of something for everybody in there.
Wow. Well, this really makes me think that my newsletters suck compared to this is like a PDF.
We decided we wanted to do a print newsletter and mail it out. It's kind of crazy, I know, but there's something about just getting another email in your inbox that kind of sits there and you're like, yeah, I should get that. I should read that. But I didn't want it to be that way. I wanted it to be tangible. I wanted to send out to addresses. So I don't know if this is a good idea or not, but it's just something we've been doing now for about 4 years, and so far so good. So we'll keep.
Yeah, that's awesome. Totally up in the newsletter game, that's for sure. Now I got to rethink my job, career, and my newsletter. So Bernie's been over here behind the scenes running some stuff. I wanted to see if I missed anything. If you guys like this live stream, smash the like button on there. It helps with the algorithms. We're sure the algorithms don't like us talking about considering trades over higher education. But so if you help smash the like button, it helps with some of the search things. And let's see, I'm going to bring Bernie really quick. He's been, I think this has been a fairly this was a fun one.
Actually, this is great. Not one bad comment in the whole thing. Yeah, no, it's been actually first. It's got to be one of the top ones that we haven't, or at least it's been a while. Let's put it that. Maybe the first of 2020 for sure. 100% on that. Do you have any questions
that I didn't get to, or the one that you had?
There's a bunch of them that were missed, but I think the one question that I had, which I thought was a stupid question, but then somebody else said, well, it's not really a stupid question, but you already covered it. Okay. And the question I had was, well, what about services that may be considered trades or vice versa? Meaning like about coaches or teachers and stuff. But then it got brought up that you brought up tutors. And does that fall under that category?
Can you explain what services means?
Like knowledge services, like I was saying, like coaches, like, or teachers, instructors, that are passing down.
So there's actually educators show up in 3 different places. We have professor, that would be more the college level, a school teacher, and then tutor, which is the private or the informal educator. Okay.
That's exactly what I was looking for. And I didn't even think about how it could be in multiple areas. So that's fantastic.
Most of the sections over here have the way that he has listed out, like for tutor, it says private instructor coach. And then for all of them, it's really cool how you bundle them together. And the name that's selected is like the classic name.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's the classic name for that, but it might have a different name today.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, I think we're about that time now.
So good. Yeah.
So I've said it once. I'm going to say it again. Make sure that you go over to thegrovestead.com and go to Durable Trades and buy the book. You're going to like the book. If you like prepping, if you want to get into homesteading, if you're thinking about what job you want to have or what kind of career, or if you don't have enough money for college and want to look into a trade, buy the book. You're going to like it. It's going to resonate with you in multiple ways. And even if it's just for research purposes, even if you just want to scan through the book and figure out specific items, you're going to like it. So trust me on this one. It's highly rated. So again, you go over here on the website and you can get it from Amazon. There's multiple sites. There's some coupon codes that you can use as well. It's family centered, which I really liked. And it's stuff around the times that we're living in now. Who knows what's going to happen? So maybe they can automate prepper channels someday. So if that happens, then I'm out of a job and I'm going to need to get into midwifery or something. Well, cool. Thanks again for Bernie for watching everything, and thank you everyone that's watched the live stream, and special thanks for Rory Groves for appearing on this one. I really appreciate you spending the time with us.
Honored. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so again, if you guys like these kind of videos, stay tuned. Just consider subscribing to the channel. Smash that like button. Go follow Rory on the multiple channels that we have. Go to the website. Go on the Twitter. Follow there. Go on the YouTube channel. Subscribe over there. Click the notification button. And without further ado, that's it for this live stream. So thanks, everyone. Pick up the book Durable Trades.
Thank you.